is Albuquerque Today, a public affairs program of KNAT TV 23. And now, here is your host, Cindy Mansfield.
Good morning and welcome to our program. We have a special program today, and with us is Mr. Edgar Briggs, who is the principal of Grants Middle School, and he'll be discussing a very interesting topic to those of you who take a big interest in education and in our children's education and what's coming up that's new. We're going to be talking today about a no waiver program that came up in the Albuquerque Tribune on September the 10th, and our producer read the article and thought it was just great. And we'd like to welcome you, Mr. Briggs, to our program today. Perhaps you can just start off by telling some of our viewers that may not be aware of the program what it exactly does to our schools and to our teachers and to our kids. What's it all about?
Well, the No Waiver Pilot came about at a middle school on the west side at Truman Middle School a number of years ago, about 8 years ago. We started looking at kids that were not performing well academically. And at that time, there was students that had 2 or more Fs, and we started monitoring those students. Now I'm currently at Grant Middle School, where the staff and the community asked to bring that program there. And we're monitoring kids, started out with kids below a 2.0, C average. This year, a 2.5, we're raising the bar, so to speak, to have them hurt a little higher, and they're responding to that. Basically, though, it gives a child a report card every 2 weeks. It's based on a contractual agreement, not a lawyer's contract, but a commitment, a pledge for excellence and attitude for education. And those kids agree that if they do not have a C+ average or higher, or choose to be voluntarily on it to keep grades up higher than that they come by meet with me every other Monday. We talk about it. We send the report card out to the teachers, completed by the teachers, signed by parents. Comes back to me in the folder. We check them in, and so the kids are provided a report card every 2 weeks.
It sounds like a great program. Now, unfortunately, though, Mr. Briggs, sometimes we have such a horrible stereotype when we think about kids that are going into, if you would, special ed or programs such as this. Help me and help our viewers to understand that this is not a bad thing, that it's a wonderful program made for them to be able to bring up those grades, and how can we break those paradigms that so many of us have?
It's a good question when it comes up, because the discussion is retention doesn't work. And the basis for the pilot is not retention, it's promotion on your own merit, to develop a work ethic. So we have kids that voluntarily are on the program that are an A-B student due to maybe situations in their own home, their family life, the fact that they are driven to make good grades and be an athlete, that they're in that group too. So it's not a stereotypic group. It's every kids from an A student to a student that's not doing nearly as well. We have ice skating trips we tie into that, so we're always trying to sell candy bars or raise money, something to take kids out to celebrate their excellence and their performance.
That's great.
We have honor roll t-shirts that say Excellence is Attitude with Grant Middle School on it. A group called the Optimist Club has helped us with fund those for the first 9 weeks. We had about 40 to 45% of our kids on honor roll, so it becomes not a negative thing. These kids are rising to it. They'll come by to me and say, Mr. Briggs, look how my grades are doing. I'm coming up. I can earn the ice skating trip this time. Mom and Dad are taking me out for pizza because I'm doing better. A lot of kids know that if they do their homework, if they do their schoolwork, they behave, things naturally happen. The positive energy generates positive results.
Now, what's the parents' role in this program?
First, we started the year off. It was very exciting. We started out a committed contract that they use. We just checked our data. Out of 630 kids, only 18 contracts didn't come in, so that's an incredible response. Those kids are bringing them in now. We just reminded them they've forgotten or whatever. Parents are there to set a conference anytime they need to talk about tutoring. We have a before-school program. Due to the middle school initiative, we have a before-school program for kids to do homework. We have after-school program and computer labs and tutoring, so we have those to help the kids. We have mediation and facilitation groups. Parents buy into that, and they see how it works. They also tell the kids when they sign the contract that if you do not do the grades, you do not move on. And many kids will respond to the fact that if they know the expectation is there to be successful, they know they're not going to get something for nothing, so to speak, that they need to work. Kids stroke that, parents stroke that and reinforce that, and celebrate when they do that. The growth, be it small initially, it'll continue to grow up.
Right. Now, we talked a little bit about the labeling of if my son or daughter took this course voluntarily, wanted to be a part of this program. How do you motivate, as a parent, self-esteem is so important, as you know.
Sure.
How do we tell our son or daughter, this is a great program? Because right now they're in school. And mom and dad or grandpa and grandpa are watching right now and think, boy, this is wonderful. My son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter could take a great advantage of using this program. How do we introduce that to our children?
A lot of energy, and you have to be a cheerleader, so to speak, and the staff do too. The staff asked to start this program because they know there's a lot of work, a lot of paperwork, a lot of report cards coming out every 2 weeks when you usually get deficiency notice every 4.5. Tell the kids, be smart about it. If mom and dad, you get low grades, what do? They usually ground you for 9 weeks. They can make a deal with you for 2 weeks. So it's only 2 weeks. Get your grades up, you're back on the road for 2 weeks. You do it every 2 weeks. The ice skating trips, the incentives, the pizza parties. You do a little bribery, so to speak, or Skinner, I guess, would call it reinforcement. We just call it school pride and spirit. We have Spirit Day. Where you get caramel apples discounted in the hallway, and you buy into their food chain, so to speak, with the trips. But the kid, you know the label's there, you don't talk about it. We just talk about this is a given. We had 98 kids last year in 8th grade below a 2.0. By the end of the year, we had 20 kids we recommend for retention. 20 of those 20, 6 went on, and unfortunately they did go on. Those kids had 5 to 7 classes they'd flunked 3 more times. They're set up for the failure in high school. High schools are trying all kind of programs, but a child goes in without a work ethic. It's very hard to motivate. The 14 kids that did stay are leaders now. We're not talking about negative. We're talking about how great they're doing.
Fantastic.
At Christmas, they can move up to high school if they choose to. Manzano and Sandia worked with us, and they're going to let those kids mid-year promote from 6th to 7th, 7th to 8th, and 8th to freshman. We're going to have a party. We're going to Black Eng someplace and celebrate those 14 kids, that group that came up to go to high school.
What are the consequences if my child does not return, grade monitoring forms?
There again, we're trying to stroke the positive. We have a call sheet, and I or my assistant principal or a counselor call the parents and say, your grade sheet's not coming in, you have a failure problem, we got to get into that commitment. What we do is we go in and we talk about the strokes. We have lotteries and we draw kids. Hey, you guys you guys returned yours, so now you get a piece of free pizza today. So we're stroking the leadership. If we can get that positive rolling, the negatives come along with it. And then we deal with the individual situations that don't work. They're not 100%, but a large percentage. We know that the high school was founded, Feeder. We only had 1 child we could find graduated out of 14 years of social promotion. If you can remember that one, that's pretty scary because you don't remember all the others that didn't. And so we're working on the kids that are going up and celebrating. They go to earned graduation, promotion ceremony at 8th grade. They go to earned dances. It's a process of support your buddy system, and let's go together.
That's great. Mr. Briggs, how many schools are you working with, and are all schools taking advantage of the waiver program? If they're not, how do we as parents get them started? Because it sounds like a wonderful program.
Well, first of all, there's policy procedures out of Santa Fe that do allow for social promotion. The parent signs a form and moves them up. Every time a parent does that with a child, I sit and talk an hour and a half, so they totally understand the negative ramifications of that, of moving them up. They talk about the negative ramifications holding them back. Many times parents are educated about what happens when they move up without the skills. So we're doing that. I've presented to several schools, and some schools have picked up the bits and pieces of using parts of it, not the total. It takes a lot of work, commitment on the parents, the students, the staff, and administration to do it. I don't think it's something that you mandate and it works. It's got to be a commitment. It's almost got to be an obsession by the whole school community, the neighborhood association, et cetera. But policy and procedure out of Santa Fe does allow for social promotion. It's by Department of Education. So first you have to educate parents to realize what the negative, it's more negative to promote on social promotion than it is to hold them back. And you've got to have them believe that. And if they don't, you can't make them. You can't make a student want to learn. You've got to set the scene for them to learn and work on multiple intelligence and creative ideas. We're also fortunate too, we're about 650 kids. So it's a more personal setting, but also it was created over 1,000 kids. So it's got to be an education and a buy-in by everybody. If there's a weak link, it's not bought in, that's when it's not going to work.
Mr. Briggs, now we know that this is going to cause a lot more work for the teachers. What has their reaction been? Well,
I was fortunate, this school I'm currently assigned to as a principal, that they asked for it. But also we talked about the fact that initially the first year we had 98 eighth graders, about 98 seventh graders, and about 40 sixth graders. So it was more work. But what they realized is that positive energy started to come. If a child is positively focused on academics and behavior, you have less negative behavior to deal with, less apathy to deal with, which is also energy draining. So once the kids start to get excited about that and move into that domain, it's actually less work for the teacher. Yes, the grade reporting is more. Some computerization grading helps, but it still is more. But you're also dealing with more positive energy. What I find as a principal, once you get kids on a positive role, and staff and community, you better be ready to sprint to keep up with them, because they're going to be running ahead of you if you don't watch out. You know, to do that.
Right. And speaking about sprinting, some of the kids may get involved like in the middle of the semester and desperately trying to find some way of bringing up their grade before the end of the semester. How do they catch up?
Well, I had one young lady particularly comes to mind, and when I started the program, she had 7 Fs. By the third night, she was ecstatic, and I didn't embarrass her. She had straight Bs. But she also reminded me she'd done 45 hours of tutoring. Like any of us, if we get out of shape, it's hard to get back in shape. And so she had to get back into academic shape. And so she went to a homework club every morning, after school, computer labs, etc. And she realized later, she said, you know, Mr. Briggs, if I'd have worked this hard earlier. But I think also we're excited about the fact that our elementaries are feeding us and giving us names of kids that may have a challenge in transition to middle school. Different teachers, bigger environment. And we're working with those kids the second week of school, the 6th grade, and we move those kids on through. So those kids learn early on what to do, and also now the elementaries in our feeder are working on an agenda book, a daytime keeper for kids to get organized, and also doing some monitoring of their own. So the earlier the habit starts, it's like any kind of dental hygiene or prenatal care or whatever, the earlier you start, the better. Well, the more we start with little kids, Dr. Joanne Kruger, a very good friend of mine, professional friend, said one time, academians in high school don't happen in high school. They start on day one. And when sometimes kids aren't start on day one, then we have to work with them harder to get them back up to speed, but it's possible.
Right. Well, we're running out of time, Mr. Briggs, but I do appreciate the fact that you came here to let us know about the No Waiver program. And if anyone is interested in knowing more information, who should they call? Who should they speak to?
They could call my assistant principal, Chris Pilling, or myself, Edgar Briggs, at Grant Middle School, and that number is 296-2443.
296-2443. And if our audience did not get that, they can call us here at Channel 23, and we'll be happy to give them that number.
It is Grant Middle School in Albuquerque.
Okay.
Some people confuse that with Grants and Grants.
Oh, okay. Now, did I say that at the beginning of the program? I hope I didn't.
We're over in Lomas, Wyoming, and we're Grant Middle School.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mr.
My pleasure.
Briggs. We commend you and your staff for what you're doing with our children in our schools. Thank you for joining us. Don't go away. There's more right after this.
Hello, I'm PG.